So much was made about Arch Manning, right, coming into the season, the chosen one, the next Manning to carry on the legacy. He's going to
including from Sudu, Upadhyay.
That's not true. I said there's a difference between crowning him and saying he's ready for the moment. I was wrong about him being ready for the moment. I'm going to get to that. But so much was made of this guy, right? And unnecessary pressure put on him. Now, you could argue, well, he makes all this money. He's the highest paid player in college football. That comes with it. That's fine. But ultimately, he had not played enough games for anyone to come to the conclusion that Arch Manning was going to walk into Columbus and light it up, right? I told you I thought he'd be prepared for the moment. I didn't mean I thought he'd light it up. I also didn't expect what happened. So let's kind of break that down, okay? That was a pretty atrocious 3 quarters of football from Arch Manning. By the end of the game, it seemed like some things were starting to click. He was figuring it out. I also don't think that everything can be pinned on Arch Manning, and I think we have to ask some questions about Texas as a whole, and maybe also even the fact that we were questioning Ohio State's defense, what that turnaround would look like for them, and they're back. They're good. But you were not that high on Arch Manning. So please, the floor is yours. Tell me what you thought. And I know you're not going to, I know you're not going to gloat, but
hold on.
Go ahead.
It's not that I wasn't high on Arch Manning.
Okay.
It's less about Arch than it is about the current media culture and how you had people I respect, genuinely respect, like Paul Feinbaum saying he's the greatest quarterback prospect since Tim Tebow, like generational. You're getting QB1 in the NFL draft projections already, Heisman front runner, all these things. And it was less about Arch than I think college football right now is starved for star power at quarterback. And the Manning name alone just sent it to a stratosphere, the hype and the buildup sent it to a stratosphere that was impossible to meet regardless of how Arch did, right? There was no ability for him to match the expectations that were set because so many were ready to crown him when he's on a developmental track that is very much like Austin Simmons right now, to where you love what the talent is and what it could be, but he hasn't done it yet. And he was playing on the road against inarguably, if not the best, one of the best defenses in college football. Matt Patricia was the greatest winner of week 1 of all the coaches.
Put some respect on Matt Patricia's name, Benjamin.
And I saw somebody make the point, and it's a good one. You know, this is a guy that was preparing. I mean, he was a great defense coordinator before the Detroit Lions disaster as a head coach. And he was used to scheming against the best quarterbacks. Like you're seeing a quarterback problem in the NFL now, where there's a lack of star quarterbacks or competency at quarterback. And he was in the golden era of quarterbacks in the NFL, the Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, who should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'll stand on that business till the day I die. You pick your fighter, Drew Brees. He was scheming against these guys week in and week out. So a first-year starting quarterback in college that's learning how to process, which his uncles had been processing for years on end, like he was probably chomping at the bit to get after him. We didn't give him enough credit. It's still a weird fit. It's still a weird hire who they replaced Jim Knowles with. And Jim Knowles is the best defense coordinator in college football, in my opinion. But Matt Patricia had a good first week, and he was scheming against a first-year starter and a first game season opening starter with a good defense. So it's less about Arch. Arch, I think, is going to be fine. But just like we've seen with Nico, just like we've seen with other quarterbacks who had this monster recruiting pedigree, it doesn't matter what star you have beside your name or what your last name is. Every quarterback has to go through a developmental phase, and there are going to be bumps along the road. And yet he was already being declared the next great thing without having done anything yet. And Steve Spurrier's words were like, they're prophetic in a way, and really kind of, I think, put into perspective how ridiculous some media types allowed this to get when he said, if he was this generational guy, why was Quinn Ewers starting over him? Which is true. Not to say that he was not, or he won't be as good or better than Quinn Ewers. It's just Quinn Ewers was further along in his development. He understood Sark's system a little bit better, or he was, he wasn't, it was slower for him than as fast as it was for Arch. It was slower for Quinn Ewers. Now, I think Sark did Arch absolutely no favors with that week 1 game plan.
That was, I'm so glad you mentioned it, man. Yeah. I mean, that's just as much on the coach as it is on this guy, right? This first time starter in an environment like this. I thought the offensive game plan was just atrocious for who you were going
and
to
Arch
face.
did some questionable thing, like the sidearming
No
stuff.
doubt.
That's a problem. You know,
Right.
like where did this sidearm hitch to come from in his throwing motion? But those are things that normal coaches and on normal developmental traction with the not with the last name of Manning. Like if Austin Simmons had that first week against Ohio State starting for Texas, I don't think there'd be the same uproar. They go, well, he's learning. No. He's learning. You know what I mean? But for them, it's like, well, Arch isn't as good as he said he was. He started one game. Let the kid actually try to figure out who he is as a quarterback. And to be quite honest, no one did him any favors by constantly drumming up the Manning connection. It was impossible not to have some of that. But y'all are ready to crown this kid before he'd even gotten an opportunity to sink or swim. So let him, now that he got the worst one out of the way. That first one, it was always going to be a little bit of a mess, and it was a mess. But now let's see what he does this week and moving forward as he gets his feet under him, because you can't imagine that all of those expectations and all of that nonsense that was no fault of his own that got put on him didn't weigh on him a little bit, right? Like that it didn't at least get to him somewhat. And that was a tough assignment in week one. I think that the voters were right not to drop Texas far in the top 25. You can't really judge anything off of week one. It was not a good start. It was a disaster. He did get better as time went on, had opportunity to tie the game. Ohio State's a good defense. There are some things that you can pick at it. But yes, this should be a cautionary tale for all media types. Just like you're saying, well, look at what Nico demanding his value from Tennessee when he hasn't accomplished jack in college yet, then going to UCLA and he's playing bad. It's a different world, and we already had an expedited timeline with these quarterbacks, but now it's just beyond the point of ridiculous. Let's scale it back a little bit. That's my only point. That's my only issue to begin with the kid. Let
100%.
him learn.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of how media is consumed in our country and the way people cover it and the money behind it, right? You got it's like a necessary evil of sorts. I don't even know if it's really necessary. It's just it just comes with it. But for some reason it just comes with it, right? But I mean, 17 for 30, 170 yards, completed over 50% of his passes. The one interception was just really bad. I did think that
Austin Simmons had a bad interception in the red zone against Georgia
we'll
State.
get to that. We'll get to that as well. But yeah, 100%. He carried the ball 10 times, 38 yards. I thought his feet would be a bigger factor than it actually was.
Yes.
So that was a bit of a surprise. But I agree with you, man. I think Arch Manning in week one versus Arch Manning at the end of the season is going to be a completely different quarterback. They play San Jose State, a great opportunity to bounce back. They get to go to DKR back home. He'll be fine. And I think that, obviously the family that he comes from, the coach that has been entrusted to develop him and take care of him, the environment he's in, all those things will take care of themselves and Arch will be fine. I don't think it's going to get to his head necessarily.